Hello, friends out there in YouTube land. This is Robert Hamm with Robert Hamm Photography, and I want you to check out what's going on with the aperture blades here on this Olympus 35RD. And I think that some of the posts, while I've been trying to figure out a lot of this online and everything, I think what I have found is that some of the posts, some posters may have this problem and not recognize that it's the actual proper operation of the camera. There is an issue with the Olympus 35RD where helicoid grease from the rangefinder mechanism drips down here onto the actual aperture leaves and causes them to be sticky. Okay, and right now we can see clearly that we don't have sticky aperture leaves. We don't have any residue on them, and we're just easy to see. So we're gonna go ahead and cock the rewind this guy and let you open. I should have it set to bulb, I believe. Yeah, so we can have the shutter open. Now you can see that it's open, and of course the shutter's closed. This actually has a leaf shutter, so there is your leaf shutter. That's not your aperture, okay? We're at f1.7, and so the aperture should actually be out of the way of this right now, and that's our leaf shutter. So where is the aperture? Well, I'll show you. Check it out. As I begin to cock the actual film advance lever, the aperture comes back into view. Okay, the reason that this is important is because you would expect that when you release the actual shutter release that the aperture blades would come back into view. Now, it doesn't. When we rotate, however, the aperture, let me make sure I'm going to go the right way here. When we rotate the aperture, you'll actually see it coming into view a little bit more. It should be at f16, and now we're pushing our little button, our shutter release, and we don't see it as well. So once we cock the actual film rewind or film advance, we see that the shutter comes back, or the aperture comes back into view. Okay, now this is the closed position. This is my f16. Shot's been taken, and then it's closed. Okay, easy enough. Now, it doesn't particularly matter if we cycle through all the shutter speeds. We can go up here to 1/500th of a second and do the same thing. We notice that's the closed position, and then, okay, we stay just a little bit closed, right? Now, when we move back up here, let's go to f2.4 just to make it easier for us to see. Okay, 2.8, that's fine. We notice that here is our actual aperture size. That's the full open size. You would expect that the aperture on these, which have a mechanical, that would open it and then close it back down. But what ends up happening is that on the first click, second click, third click, on the third click of the sprocket from the film rewind, every time the aperture closes. Now it's open. Watch. Let's hear it again. 1, 2, 3. Now if we let it go, so we didn't actually cock the film or advance it, we just ratcheted the internal mechanism 3 clicks. We'll notice that the shutter opens and stays open. This is important because this is now the 4th click. Notice how it's closed. Once we close it, it will open and close all the way now. Okay, so I've been looking at some diagrams online, and I'm not sure that they're just exploded repair manual diagrams, and I'm not sure that I have this thing completely figured out. But what I think is happening here is that the 4th ratchet of the shutter, 1, 2, 3, that closes. The 4th one completely resets it. So now I've gone 4, I'm over to the 5th click on the film advance lever, and you'll notice here I can open and close to my heart's content, and it will go back. So there's obviously not a sticking shutter issue, and that's what I'm saying. So a lot of people that may be having problems with the Olympus 35RD may think they have a problem that they don't have. If there was a sticky shutter, the shutter wouldn't be able to open and close at any aperture, right? If the helicoid grease had gone down there and it was stuck at f16, the aperture would most definitely be stuck. I do think that people may be experiencing this issue because the design of this aperture or this iris is different than the design of other apertures. You would expect in manual cameras that don't require batteries to actuate the shutter or the aperture release that by depressing, specifically in this instance, you'll notice that the more I press the actual shutter button, the larger the aperture gets. So there's a mechanical connection there that's taking place. And then at some point, once it's open, you trip the release that allows the actual shutter to open and close. The shutter is what we see in the background, and this is a leaf shutter. Now, I was concerned that, take your little picture and your aperture stays open. I was concerned that there would be some amount of light leak that came through. So here's what I did. I took my cell phone, turned the flashlight on the opposite side, opened the back, right? Went into the bathroom, opened the back, right? Went into the bathroom, set the lens to bulb, right? And then put the entire lens over top of my cell phone so that there was no light coming in. And then on bulb, I was able to press and hold the shutter open and see if any light was coming through when it was open. And obviously on bulb, there should be, because you have the shutter open. That was also a great way to inspect the lens. But then at the same time, when I closed it, I was able to notice that there was no light coming in through the shutter. Okay? And this is very important. Okay? So even though the front may appear to be open with the iris resets on the fourth click, on the fourth ratchet. It takes 30 degrees for the ratchet to enable and 135 degrees of travel for the ratchet to fully go through its travel, if I read the material correctly online. And so that means, quite simply, that if you're having an issue with the shutter being, the aperture being open here, you may not actually be having an issue at all. With the Olympus 35RD, this appears to be the way the camera is designed. Now, I'm not a camera repair expert, so please, friends, family out there in YouTube land, if you have a better answer to what I am suggesting here, let me know. Let's talk this out in the discussion forums, because I think that this is something that people interested in these cameras, specifically the 35RD, would really like to know. And this appears to be the way it should work for me. Guys, I'm Robert Hamm with RobertHammPhotography.com. You can catch me over on Twitter at RobHammPhoto. You can find me on both Facebook and YouTube at /Robert Hamm Photography. If you liked this video, please smash that like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice. Let me know what you think. And as always, keep shooting, my friends.